Accessory structures and setbacks are a big component talking about common home projects such as decks, garages, carports, front entries. Setbacks, where you put them, are they an accessory structure, are they attached to the house? Those are big components, and depending on whether or not it's attached and the size of it will dictate whether or not it's considered an accessory structure and whether or not a permit's required for it. Also, depending on the setback, may require decide whether or not maybe your neighbor has to approve that, whether or not you have to install a rated wall, and the size of it. I'm going to read out of this nice big code book that I have here. This is the International Residential Code. So I was just going to read the actual definition of what an accessory structure is, just so you guys have an idea. It says an accessory structure is a structure that is accessory to and incidental to that of the dwelling and that is located on the same lot. So an accessory structure, and we just talked about it in the previous video, anything that's under 200 square feet does not require a permit. Well, sometimes though, if you set it right next to the property line, maybe your neighbor doesn't like it and they call in, then you don't have proper setbacks. Typical setback is 5 feet. They may need to approve it. At least where I'm at, the jurisdiction I live in, they do what they call a side yard waiver, which means the neighbor is approving a structure being placed within 5 feet of the property line. And they can dictate it, at least on our form. The neighbor can say, yeah, you can put your structure within 2 feet of the property line, but it can't drain on my property. Meaning the roof line, whatever you're putting up there, can't drain snow and rain onto the neighbor, right? Flood out their backyard or however you have it set up. Now, when you get in accessory structures, well, you don't even need a permit if it's under 200 square feet. Yep, granted, I get that. Sometimes, though, you can end up in situations where neighbors will push and push with building departments, and then you'll be asked to kind of move it. If that makes sense. So I always suggest try to keep everything 5 feet off the property line. If you can keep it under 200 square feet, not need a permit, that's awesome. I would go for it. You could also define maybe even a deck as if it's detached under 200 square feet, under 30 inches, permit's not required. Call that an accessory structure as long as it's not your main source of egress out of the house. If it's your main source of egress, permit is required. Setbacks, though, if you get too close to the property line, maybe you're building a big garage or a pole barn, keep in mind if you're tight on space and you end up building close to the property line, you're probably going to have to put in a rated wall. It's just kind of part of it. It's not the end of the world. It's just more costs and materials and labor and installing some drywall. Just make sure you follow the details that are provided. And when I get into the pole barn side of things, I'll maybe dive in a little bit more with some details on how to and what general requirements are that we see and that we require and look for in our area for rated walls. As far as setbacks and accessory structures go, I think that should do it.